రామకృష్ణ అవునా? వెరీ గుడ్, వెరీ గుడ్. అవునా? నీకు ప్రేమ్ కరణ్ రెడ్డి తెలుసా? ప్రేమ్ కరణ్ రెడ్డి అని ఇప్పుడు సిఇఓ.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. Behalf of the Department of Psychology and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, we are welcoming you all for this webinar on the topic Psychoanalytic Theory. In this regard, generally, we have been observing, and at present days, frequently we have been observing, and we observe certain things like ego, like consciousness, like that. In these terms, we can use the personality theories. Mostly, there are a lot of theories occurred in the psychology. So, like Carl Rose's theory, psychoanalytic theory, then Adler's theory, like that. Today, the most important topic is psychoanalytic theory. In this regard, we are invited the eminent professor, Professor V. Srikanth Reddy Garu, former Vice Chancellor, Sri Venkateswara University, and previously served as a rector, dean, several positions in the university, and HOD, BOS. Mostly from the last 30 years, Sir has been involved in the Department of Psychology. And also, we are very happy to inform you the eminent Professor V. Srikanth Reddy Garu have been involved in the Department of Psychology, BRAOU also from the last 12 years, so UG and PG courses as an editor and as an expert committee member. So now we are introducing our Dean, Professor Vadyanam Srinivas Garu. So Professor of History and at present Dean Faculty of Social Sciences from the last 3 years. Sir was served as a HOD and Dean, and several programs conducted successfully. With this, we hand over to the Dean further proceedings.
Thank you. Most respected Professor Srikanth Reddy Garu, and Head Department of Psychology, Narsimul Garu, Dr. Narsimul Garu, and my dear colleagues, Dr. Sriveni Garu, Dr. Guruvaya Garu, Dr. Yadagiri Garu, and all my friends and all participants. Good morning to you all. I welcome you all to this webinar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University is the first open university in this country, as you know, and our Faculty of Social Sciences is the biggest faculty in the university. We have 9 departments in the faculty. We are most of the students from our faculty only we are serving in different modes. And psychology department is also one of the dynamic department in our faculty. In fact, in 2012, university has introduced this program in MSc Psychology and UG level Psychology also. And for that also our colleagues prepared wonderful course material for our learners. And that course material is very much helpful to the learners in all aspects. And also we are regularly recording audio video lessons also for psychology department in UG program and PG program, and all the syllabus we are recording. That lessons also will be helpful for the learners. And this kind of webinars are, we think this type of webinars will be helpful for our learners and as well as general public also and general students also. So that we invite eminent personalities from all over India and from the globe also to give lectures on particular areas so that our learners can get some idea about the theories. That is our motto, sir. Particularly psychology department, this is the most complex subject, as you know that, and very much difficult to understand some theories like psychoanalytical theory. Sigmund Freud says consciousness, unconscious, ego, superego, id. This kind of words always we have some doubt to understand this kind of words and the inside of Sigmund Freud's theory, and other great psychologists also framed some ideas on this topic. So that this is very much helpful, and I would like to express my sincere thanks to our great Professor Srikanth Reddy Garu, because accepted our invitation and you are giving today's talk. And also, I would like to congratulate my department colleagues for this for conducting this wonderful webinar. And I look forward to the wonderful talk from Srikanth Reddy garu. Please, I invite Srikanth Reddy garu to speak on this occasion. Why, sir? We are not able to hear you, sir. Sir, we are not able to hear you, sir. Please unmute your mobile. 4G. Sir, we are not able to hear you, sir. 4G.
సార్ వినిపించట్లేదు సార్, వాయిస్ ఇంట్లో మీరు ఒక్కసారి మొబైల్ డైరెక్ట్ చేస్తారు సార్. అందుకంటే ఇది కంప్లీట్ వినిపించట్లేదు. వీడియో క్లారిటీ ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుంది సార్. నో ప్రాబ్లం, నో ప్రాబ్లం. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుంది కదా? అంటే నేను మైక్స్ పెట్టుకున్నాను, ఇయర్ మైక్స్, సో దట్ ఐ స్పీక్ అని. ఐ జస్ట్ స్పీక్. వినిపిస్తుందా?
ఓకే సార్.
ఓకే, ఈజ్ ఇట్ క్లియర్?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good morning to everyone. At the outset, I like to thank Professor Srinivas Vaddanam, the Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, and his colleague K. Narsimulu, whom I know quite a lot of time, who thought of giving me an opportunity for the first time to interact with the Ambedkar Open University students and what are the students who want to learn something about psychology. They have spoken a lot of good words, and I thank them for all the things, though I may not be that competent as they think. But certainly I'll try to share some of my random thoughts with regarding some of the concepts which have been highly interesting, highly controversial, and also highly stimulating, and they endure for a long time. And psychoanalytic theory is one important theory which has been there with psychology, and it is only the Freud theory which has been a formal theory which was proposed on explaining human behavior, especially the concept of personality, was there, and it was the foremost. And all the theories, if I'm right to say, they have been as a reactions to what Freud said, either trying to support Freud or disagree with Freud, propose an alternative thing to Freud way of thinking. But all said and done, Freud is the person who has been stimulating the psychologists for a long time to explain the causes of human behavior. Because as you all know, psychology has been defined by academics. It is systematic study of human behavior. And psychologists too had a fascination that whatever they say should be accepted by the people. And also they thought that what they say should be also accepted by the empiricism or empiricists who had the scientific temper, and they wanted to talk about only objective phenomena. If you want me to recall back, because this is not a time, but still I need to tell you that when psychology emerged as an independent discipline in mid-19th century in Germany, psychologists were more thinking of trying to define or its task as to analysis of conscious mind. Again, it is very difficult for me to just skip off, because I know there are many people who might have a lot of doubts And so for this reason, I need to little go back now away from psychoanalysis and talk about the definition of psychology. Because if you see the progress and development of this definition of psychology, it moves from systematic study of soul, systematic study of mind, systematic studies of experiences, then behavior. The progress of the definition of psychology depended upon the times in which the people who were holding a higher position, who decided about what should be the subject matter of psychology. If soul was the definition of psychology, which was during the time of Aristotle and Hippocrates and other people were great philosophers, then they never had a word, common word to explain, and they would never have a scientific vigor in their explanations. They used to take whatever they used to come to their mind and whatever the philosophy used to say, because philosophy had a lot of influence on psychology in the early days of its development. So soul did not stand for the concept of objectivity, which science was emphasizing, because once the empiricism took over and psychology did not accept to non-existent, non-observable soul or mind or experiences which are too personal, which does not stand to the scientific way of thinking, and they try to define psychology should talk about only conscious behaviors, whether experienced by the individual or observed by others in the individual. Okay. So behavior and the internal changes of the man were more important. But psychologists always wanted to talk about the conscious mind as the subject matter of it, and they want to analyze the conscious mind and identify and discover the basic elements of consciousness. In the first experimental laboratory, William Wundt talked about consciousness, and he tried to divide the behavior into basic elements, and then discover the basic elements which are going to be part of your consciousness. And this sometimes is like the basic elements are combined together into compounds. Again, you can't talk about physics here, where we have to divide our behavior into smaller parts, and then later on, we have to combine them, integrate them, and to make a compound, something which we call it as mental chemistry. So in chemistry, we do the same thing. And when we do this in psychology, especially trying to study the basic elements of consciousness and combine them into compounds, it is nothing but mental chemistry. So psychologists were more interested in consciousness. And this is the time where people thought that it is not just the conscious activities which are going to influence. It is something more which are going to influence, which is going to influence the things at a later stage. So here, 1 minute. 1 minute, I have a small information. Hello, sorry for the interpretation. I just had somebody try to inform them. And next, Freud was one influential psychologist who thought that your objective behavior cannot be devoid of certain internal things which are happening. For example, if you want to talk about psychology assess a behavior, we see that when we see a snake, we run, we jump onto the table. But this is what behaviorists say. This is what behaviorists say. But whereas psychologists believe that your behavior need not be exclusively running away from seeing a snake. There may be people who might have been able to discriminate between the snakes And there may be poisonous snake and non-poisonous snake. And a person who feels that the snake which entered into the room is a poisonous snake, they can scream and get onto the table. And there may be a person who believes that it's a non-poisonous snake, they can relax. In such a way, what happens is there is some internal feedback being given to the human being. It is not just the stimulus which makes you to respond in a similar way as described behaviorists, but there are many other aspects which are there consciously within the individual or unconsciously within the individual which are going to influence your behavior. And Freud comes here and he did not accept the notion that mind is just consciousness. So he believed and he proposed a concept called as iceberg. And iceberg is something, when you put an iceberg into a glass of water, a little bit is seen. And Freud believed that this seen iceberg is something related to consciousness. And all the iceberg which is inside the water is comprising of unconsciousness and subconsciousness. So he believes that it is the unconsciousness which is going to influence human behavior. And thus, he says that our consciousness or our mind is mostly, or our behavior is mostly influenced by unconsciousness, and which consists of the urges, the passions, the repressed ideas, the feelings. So this is underwater. So sometimes we call it as the great underworld, which is influencing our behavior. It is not the upper world which is influencing behavior. It is the great underworld dawns. What are the dawns? These are the urges, your passions, your repressed feelings, which could not be satisfied as a child, which are stored in unconsciousness. And this makes the reservoir of psychic energy. And these urges, passions, and these things influence human behavior. So he deviates from the general psychologist who talks about conscious mind as a subject matter. And he believes that it is the unconscious state which is going to influence human behavior. So psychology, if it, according to Freud, if it limits to conscious and explain human behavior, he feels it is inadequate. He feels it is inadequate. So what he did is understanding the underlying motives of the behavior need to be known for understanding your behavior. So that is why Freud deviated from the rest of the psychologists, and he was the one of the first psychologists who tried to talk about behavior and personality in a different way, very different way compared to it. And he is the forerunner of a theory, a systematic theory. I tell you, Professor Narsimlu was trying to tell about, he was mentioning about Jung, Adler, and other people. And Jung was one of the most closest follower of Sigmund Freud, but he deviated from him at a later stage. Though Freud was instrumental in making Jung the president of Psychoanalytic Association, still he tried to deviate because he did not accept Freud completely. Though he followed, he had a very good communication between him, writing letters and trying to know and work together at a later stage, and he moved. So Freud was the first person who deviated from the general psychologists, and he tried to emphasize on unconscious mind, which he believed is the reservoir of psychic energy, and these are going to influence human behavior. This is very briefly about what consciousness, unconsciousness, how Freud tried to talk about more of unconscious things rather than conscious things. Because our behavior can be or is going to influence by our past also. That is why when our behavior is a replica of what happened in the past, what has to be in the present, and what would be the consequences or implications in the future. Past, present, and future are the three important things which have psychologists should take in trying to understand human behavior. Just taking the present situation and trying to label an individual and become judgmental is not right, according to Sigmund Freud. He says that you have to take the past, and that is the reason why he emphasizes the role of early childhood experiences as an important factor in trying to explain your adult behavior. And this childhood experience, according to him, all your personality will be marked in the first 5 years of your life. And these 5 years of life are crucial for human personality. And that is how Freud tries to look at the things. Now, let us go into the theory of personality of Freud. So let me say, start with the structure and the most interesting, because your dean was also trying to talk about the concept of ego. He was mentioning about the concept of ego and id and other things. And so this is some of the most important things which are interesting for psychologists. So let us first look at the structure of personality, because this is a psychoanalytical theory and we need to know about it. And according to Freud, when I'm talking today, please make it a point, whatever I talk, whatever I say, it is the way Freud looked at it. It is not professor of psychology of Srikanth Reddy is trying to tell you. I am only trying to tell you about the assumptions put forward by Freud. A theory is just an assumption. It is not a law. It has not been proved. But a theory is a set of assumptions put forward by a psychologist, a theorist. Here it is psychologist, a theorist, to explain a particular phenomenon. So Freud want to trying to talk about the concept of personality. Again, I tell you, personality is nothing but it is unique behavior. If psychology is systematic study of behavior as per the behaviorists, here it is something Freud tries to talk about unique behavior. So when we talk at a general psychology level, we talk it as a behavior because it tries to talk about all the things regarding behavior, various principles which are going to govern with regarding to all other. Whereas when we talk about personality, we are talking about an individual. It is unique to an individual. So here, when I'm talking about Freud theory, we are talking about unique personalities, but this will be there in every individual with certain variations. What are the things that we'll understand as we go into the theory? So let me talk about the structure of personality. As you all know, many of you might have heard about the concepts of id, ego, and superego. And personality is made of these three systems: the id, the ego, the superego. These three things comprise the personality system of any individual. And according to Freud, behavior is a function of interaction among the three systems. Your behavior is a function of interaction of three systems. I just common one way I said about past, present, and future. So in the same way, it may not be exact replica. Here also Freud tries to talk about trying to look about them in a specific way, and he says three systems. And I tell you, it doesn't mean that though I have demarcated for pedagogical purposes, id, ego, superego, but these never operate as exclusive of the other two. So id operates in collaboration with ego and superego. Ego has to coordinate the activities of id and superego, and superego also has to control things. All the three are going to work together to initiate a behavior in an individual. Now let us see each of these things separately, because that is very important for many behaviors which many people have doubts to explain. So let us come to first concept, or the first structure, which I differentiate for pedagogical purpose as id. Id is the original system of personality according to Sigmund Freud. Freud believes that id is the original system. And he further states that it is the matrix within which the ego and superego try to get differentiated. So by birth, we have only id. By birth, that means it is the psychological part which is there in a human being by birth itself. We all believe that we have only biological predispositions by birth. But according to instinct theories, it can be William McDougall or it can be Sigmund Freud, we have certain psychological components also by birth. And Freud believes that we inherit certain psychological dispositions, and that will be there during the birth, and we call them as instincts. Instincts are innate biological predispositions which predetermine an individual in a particular way. It is innate biological predispositions which will predetermine your behaviors in an innate. So instincts are there. And that is part of the things is very important for Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud believes this instinct because it is the id is the one which provides the power for operating all the two systems. The other two systems are functioning with the power supplied by it. And he says that it is the true, Freud says that it is the true psychic reality. It is the true psychic reality. So it is the one which represents the inner world of subjective experiences. Because when behaviorists wanted to call themselves scientists, they explained about only objective experiences, which can be seen, which can be measured, which can be verified. But they never talked about what are the propelling factors within the individual which are going to dismiss. Freud is the one. He represents, according to him, it is the inner world of subjective experience. And it doesn't have any knowledge of objective reality. It doesn't have anything with objective reality. It is there. And one of the characteristics of it is, it is a very something which is cannot tolerate any increase in the energy. It has to reduce the tension immediately once there is a disturbance. For example, there is some deficiency of sugar in your blood. This deficiency, physiological deficiency, will result in a need. When there is a need, you need to, there will be a tension in the body. And if we want to reduce the tension, come back to homeostasis level, you need to eat food. You need to eat food. So in the same way, here, any psychological disturbances have to be reduced. Tension has to be reduced. And the principle here through which the id operates is called as pleasure principle. Means when it wants something, it need to be gratified. Whatever may be there, I doesn't bother about it. I want food, you give me food. I don't know how you earn, how you cook, you get try to serve me. Here, it is something very unrealistic in its demands. In the sense, realism means, again, I don't say that realism is something a fact. It is something decided by the society. Here, it operates more biologically. It wants something. There is a disturbance in its body mechanism. It wants to satisfy. And to avoid the pain of any tension, any need, it can be any need. So, for example, most of the needs are, and the id is hunger, thirst, and sex, according to Sigmund Freud. So, when they are hunger, you need to reduce the tension. And basically, to avoid the pain, and you want to have a pleasure. This is what pleasure principle. When we say that the id operates on pleasure principle, whenever it wants something, it wants to gratification. And that is how it works. And this happens in two ways. One is reflex action, other is primary process. Reflex action, as you know, is an inborn automatic response. Inborn automatic. Normally, it is for simple forms of excitation. But human being is not restricted to simple forms of excitation. Human being has a complex forms of anxiety. Complex. And here, these cannot be resolved. For example, I don't know how many adolescents are there in the group, but all of us were adolescents. And if you know, I don't know how many of you have stayed in hostels and how many of you pasted a poster of your favorite cinema actor. For men, it may be female actors. For females, it may be male actors. So everyone are fascinated today. If I want to take a realistic example of the reflex action primary process, I have a favorite actor and I want to meet him. This is the tension created in me. And reflex action says just meeting him. But do you think that it is simple to meet a film actor? It is not possible. So what we do, we try to paste the poster of the person whom we like on the wall and see it. This is called as primary process. That means where you discharge your attention by forming an image of the object. Today, we try to hang our parents' photos once they leave us. This is also primary. All of us like to stay with our parents. But unfortunately, the life of a goal of life is death. Everybody has to leave us, as Freud says. But we miss them. So we take a photograph of the parents and hang it on the wall and look at them. This is an image trying to gratify our wish to stay with our mother or father who have left us, or trying to see about the film actress whom we try to adore as an adolescent on the wall of our hostel room. These are all through gratification. That means, in a simple way, when you are hungry, eating food is a reflex action. Just going onto the table and fooding, eating. But primary process is a complex process where you form a memory image of the thing because it is not available. Because it is not available. we try to gratify our need by farming. So today I wanted to eat something, some Hyderabad biryani. But my mother has cooked only some curd rice. But I just get a gratification by forming an image of Hyderabad biryani and believe that I have been it. This is the primary process. And this way of satisfying your thing is called as wish fulfillment. It's called as wish fulfillment. Certain mostly nocturnal dreams. Nocturnal dreams are primary process. We see the film, we see whatever we want, which could not be done in reality. We try to do it. So here but the problem is just imagination is not going to give you satisfaction. A hungry man cannot imagine food and feel that his tummy is full. He has to eat. He has to eat. He has to go to the table, pick something, eat something. If he doesn't have, he has to steal it from a shop and eat it. So here starts the other important process, which is called as secondary process. This is the new process which starts because just forming an image of an individual of a food and feel that you have gratified your need cannot be resolved. So we have a secondary psychological process which develops, and thus during this secondary process, the occurrence and the development of the second structure of personality, the ego began to take form. Ego tries to talk about reality principle. Ego tries to talk about reality. If instinct talks about pleasure principles according to Freud, ego tries to talk about reality principle. And this reality principle is trying to say that image is not going to satisfy you. Come on, go and eat. Come on, go and meet the heroine. Come on, go and meet the hero. This is reality principle. This tries to take. So, because ego comes into existence, because the needs of organism requires an appropriate transaction. Image is not an appropriate transaction with reality. What is the appropriate transaction with the objective world? Just to eat food if you are hungry, drink water if you are thirsty, and meet the hero whom you want to meet. So what should I do? That means a hungry person has to seek, find, and eat food if he want to be, his hunger drive is to be eliminated. So this is reality principle, and this talks about realistic thinking. And here, ego formulates a plan for this gratification or satisfaction, and then form a plan, test the plan, execute the plan, and participate. So here, ego becomes now the executive of personality. It is the executive. It is the executive because it controls the gateways of action, selects the things, and it is the one which tries to maintain the two important of life, that is maintenance of life and reproduction of the species. Both are taken care by ego, and ego tries to go over it. Now, okay, we assume that ego has taken over. Now it wants to meet the hero of your choice or meet the heroine of your choice. Where should you go? You should go to people in Telangana. They can meet in Hyderabad. People in who want in Bollywood, they should go to Mumbai or go to Los Angeles for Hollywood actress. And is it possible? Okay, you want to meet, you could plan a trip and you have enough money and you want to meet a heroine and you want to date with her. But is it really good? Is it right? But our third important structure of personality, the superego, the last one to develop of all the things, tries to tell us, no, you can't meet that heroine. She is wife of somebody. She is wife of somebody. How can you meet that? It is unethical. It is unethical. It can't. It is against the morality. If you want to have sex, have with your own wife. Marry and have. Not premarital sex to gratify your sexual drive. You can have it through reality by marrying a girl, lying to limit yourself to single sexual partner. All these things are the things which tries to do. Eat food made in your house. Don't steal food and eat. Stealing food is not. Don't depend upon others. Be independent of others. These are all certain things which superego tries to tell, which acts on the morality principle, because it is the one that is superego is the internal representative of your traditions, values, and ideals of the society. If you remember the concept of socialization, which probably you might have heard about it. Socialization is trying to acquire the dominant beliefs, values, habits of the others so that you become more similar to others. And this is done by the parents. They tell you what is right and what is wrong. And through inculcate this type of right behaviors through the rewards and punishments. And they try to impose them. One way is our parents are imposing on us, because socialization is something which is moving away from our natural behavior to a more controlled behavior. If you want me to be specific, I can also use unnatural behavior. So when I get urine, if I pass wherever I'm standing, it is natural behavior. But if I go to toilet and try to pass it in a such specific manner and position, it is controlled behavior. Defecation by animals is acceptable by the society, but defecation wherever we want is not accepted by humans. This is what we call it as traditional values, where we try to inculcate, suppress some of our instinctive behaviors which are there by birth, acquire new forms of behavior, and try to become more similar to the others. So that is the reason why I say here in id, it is the reservoir of psychic energy. It is there by birth. It is natural, but whereas ego and superego are not there by birth. They develop later and through interactions with the society, especially. And the society, you talk about other things. And the mechanism through which we try to evaluate all these things is called as introjection. Introjection is the mechanism through which superego tries to inculcate certain type of behaviors in us. So if you look at the superego and its main functions, it can be briefly said, it is the nature of superego to inhibit the sexual and aggressiveness of human beings. Participating in sex is natural. For example, when I was a young boy, I used to have a dog in my house. Today also my brothers have, I don't have any dogs. And then I somehow I am not used these days. And a dog, a kitten, which is born to their mother, have sex with its own once it is grown up, which is not there in human beings, which is considered to be not ethical. It is not moral. So here, trying to have a sex should have also a proper way, proper means, and proper time. And that superego tries to tell us. it tries to inhibit the id impulses of sex and aggression because society does not approve them as in the raw form. Refined form, it is accepted. Raw form, it is not accepted. And it substitutes moralistic goals for reality ones. So ego talks about reality, but reality trying to have a date with a heroine is true. But morality says having a date with a married heroine is not. It's not right. So this it tries to relate. And the most important superego is strives for perfection. People who are perfectionists are more dominated by superego, more dominated by superego. So these are the three systems of personality according to Freud, and they are just, again I tell you, they are just names for different psychological process, and they try to work on different principles, but they are not separate. They work under the leadership of ego, and they are going to trying to do it. So this is the structure of personality. How does, when we need to talk about dynamics of personality? As you all know, human organism is also a highly energy system. Human organism also an highly energy system. Don't think that it is not an energy system. And how do we get this energy? By the type of food we consume. So we eat food, we get energy. This is digested, converted into energy, and whatever we consume, and it is spent or on various purposes of bodily function. It can be breathing, it can be digestion, it can be circulation, it can be excretion, whatnot, etc. All these things are there. This energy. Human being is not only comprised of biological elements, but we said that we are also having some psychological elements. How do this psychological activity derive its energy? It also derives it the frame sources. So whatever the food we eat will also contribute to our psychological thought process, like remembering, thinking, etc., intelligence and other things, perception, all these things are taken care by the same energy through which. But if the psychological process are to be used, they have to be given a different name. They have trying to different name and matter. So here, whatever the things, they are called as psychic energy. They are not called as bodily energy. If it is used for bodily purpose, it is called as physiological energy. But when it is used for your thinking and remembering, it is called as psychic energy. And this psychic energy is the point of control of bridge between energy of body and personality. And what is that connecting bridge? It is the id. And it is instincts. And it is instincts. I talked about it, but I have not talked about instincts yet. And what is an instinct? As I was telling you, I gave a general definition it as an inborn, innate biological predisposition to behave in a particular way. But Freud said it is an inborn psychological representation of inner source of somatic excitation. It is the inner source of somatic excitation. It is psychological. So a psychological representation of instinct is called as a wish. I have a bodily deficiency called as a physiological deficiency, called as a need. But when I want to reduce my thing, I have to have a wish to eat. This is called as a wish. And the bodily excitation is need. But psychological excitation is wish. And the state of hunger may be described as nutritional deficit in physiological terms. In psychological terms, it can be defined as a wish for food. It can be defined as wish for food. And this is the one which motivates your behavior. This wish is the one which motivates your behavior. So, instinct also has 4 characteristic patterns. The source, that is something called as the bodily condition. Source is the bodily condition. The aim, which removes the bodily excitation. The object, all the activity which is between the need and fulfillment. And impetus is something related to strength of the instinct. How strong it is. So every instinct have a source which comes from the body. Aim is a psychological thing which will be removed by bodily excitation. And object, all the activity which happens between the need and the fulfillment. And impetus talks about source. And here, Freud tries to differentiate between 2 instincts. One is life instinct, other is death instinct. And life instinct is the one which is responsible for survival of the species and propagation of species. Examples are hunger, thirst, and sex. And here, the energy through which psychic energy, he calls it as libido. He calls it as libido, which resides from the energy. And here, this one tries to want you to survive. For example, if you want to survive, what should you do? You should eat. When you eat, what would you do? You try to bite an apple, you chew an apple, swallow an apple. If you want to bite an apple, you should have an aggressive instinct, which is called as a death instinct. So, an ant is killed by a frog, frog is killed by a snake, snake is killed by a bird, bird is killed by others, animal or whatever it is. So, if I want to survive, I need to eat. I may eat a fruit or I may eat something. But even eating a fruit, don't think that you are not going to be aggressive. You are aggressive. You are cutting the plant. You are harvesting. You are crushing. You are pounding. You are cooking. You are chewing. You are swallowing. These are all something called as part of your death instinct. But death instinct, killing others, is not accepted by the society. The morality says, Jeev Himsa Mahapapa. So how to go ahead? So death instinct is something, though it is the goal of our life, death instinct, and aggressiveness is considered to be part of death instinct. If sex is considered, why Freud is criticized is because his emphasis of life instinct is more emphasis on sex, the libido, erogenous zones, and the aggressive, and sex and aggressive are both are not accepted in the natural form as it is by the society. So in that case, what happens is, I think I have some more time. Where should I stop?
5-10 minutes you can take, sir. 10 minutes you can take, sir.
Okay,
Up to
okay.
12:30 you can take, sir. No problem.
12:30, yeah?
No problem, sir. 12:30.
Okay, I'll just...
No problem.
So aggressive. So now there is a conflict between life. If I want to survive, I have to eat something. If I want to eat something, I need to be aggressive. So life, the sex is not accepted in the society, and the aggression is not as accepted in society. And here I try to tell you, this is the place where Freud was criticized more, and his theory could not be accepted because of these 2 connotations of excessive emphasis on sex and aggression. And there were many his followers who formed a separate group called as Neo-Freudians, starting from Adler. Jung, Eric Fromm, Adler, Sullivan, Erikson, Corinne Harney, all these people deviated because Freud emphasized more on sex and aggression. And they say that Freud theory is not substantiated by an experiment and it has not been proved. We need not accept. But I tell you, Freud theory may not have been proved on the laboratory. But if you can think about it in a different form, I tell you, if you take the Indian history of cinema, if you see the most successful film, most successful in the Indian cinema is Sholay. And Sholay is the one which is fully aggressive. It has a lot of sexual content. And this is the biggest hit in cinema. And I tell you, even today, why parents are afraid of children using the cell phone is because of children trying to watch pornography. If Freud was wrong, how can you explain this behavior? Even not only Sholay, any film, if you feel that it is very highly successful, then it must be fully loaded with sex or aggression. In rare cases, a family entertainer becomes a hit. And you see, the most successful films are either highly aggressive. Anyway, I doesn't want to get into that. It is not. I just shared some of the thing. And here, and because of the conflict between life and death instinct, many of our desires, which are not accepted by society, are trying to be pushed into our unconscious state. Unconscious state. That is the reason why Freud says that your consciousness is very limited and your energy is derived mostly from unconscious state because mostly it is because of the repressed ideas. Repressed ideas are the things which we called as where the ideas, the feelings of human beings are forgotten purposefully, which is called as motivated forgetting. It is purposefully. Any unpleasant situations, we believe that they are not remembered. They are repressed. We call it as motivated forget. And Freud uses a word in his theory called a slip of the tongue phenomenon. We try to utter a word, somebody. And when they retaliate back, they said, I just said for it. Don't think I did not say really. But basically, Freud says that when I try to talk about somebody, I'm talking from my heart, not from my tongue. Slip of the tongue, not tip of the tongue phenomenon. The repressed feelings about an individual which are there in your unconscious make you to pronounce such a word about an individual. Slip of the tongue phenomena are popularly in earlier days is called as Freudian slips. Freudian slips. They are called as Freudian slip, a slip of the tongue phenomenon. And here, these are something which are there in your unconsciousness because you have repressed, you have seen that repressed in your unconscious. And I tell you, in 70s, if I'm right, it was a very popular idea for the Mills and Boons type of love stories, where the heroine forgets the unpleasant situation of the death of a hero and believes as if he's alive and he tries to go on. And only when she is assisted psychologically, she comes into reality, accepts that husband is no more, and tries to live upon. This was a very popular theme, especially in Telugu cinemas. You have a lot of movies which talk about the concept of repression. And very popular theme in 70s was one film called as Sharada. And Sharada loses her husband on the first day of her marriage. And she felt unconsciousness. Once she gets up, she believes that she never accepts that her husband is no more. She was waiting her husband will come back, has gone out or somewhere. And only when she realizes of a treatment, and finally, the story is different. So here, this repression concept or motivated forgetting is one of the important factor explaining your memory loss also. And repression is an unfortunate thing. This is one of the important ego defense mechanism, which is used by Freud to explain his phenomenon. But from the repression, you have reaction formation. These are some of the most basic defense mechanisms which try to protect your ego. When you are not, because I tell you, all these characteristics of defense mechanisms are a denial or evasive. They want to protect the ego, so they say that it is not there. They are no more. Reaction formation is where you talk about different things. So I hate somebody, but I never say I hate him. I say I love him. You love somebody, but you never say I love him. You say I hate. Something different. This is reaction formation. Then you have projection. So projection is where we try to say that we project whatever happened because of somebody. So this is projection, and you have fixation, again something going back to relate to regression, where regression is going back to earlier state, that is a childhood stage. But fixation is not going to childhood state, but you fix onto the past behavior and try to. This is how we try to, because I think you all know about defense mechanisms. I am not going into details of these defense mechanisms. So because they all have been there with us. And with these defense mechanisms, we try to protect. We try to protect the human behavior. So we all have this, whether it is repression, we try to deny it, we falsify the truth, and we try to believe as if nothing has happened. There are many other defense mechanisms which have been finding displacement, where we try to displace the anger on some other object, where we have rationalization, where we believe that the goal which we wanted to reach is of high standard, so we are not able to reach, and we attribute something to repletion, what you call as displacement, or what we called as rationalization. Likewise, we have many defense mechanisms where defense mechanisms are used to try to lastly, because time is not sufficient, Freud theory is not a theory which can be discussed in 1 hour. So as because this is the plane which is very reacting. And finally, how does the personality develop? And he tries to define the personality development into 4 stages. And he talks about the child normally passes series of dramatically differentiated during the first 5 years of life. And here, with the period of 6 years, so for example, the first 5 years will be, and then in 6 years, where it will be stabilized in the 6th year, and later on in during adolescence, again, it will gradually settle down as an adolescent moves from adulthood. So first 5 years, according to Freud, first 5 years are very crucial or decisive for the formation of personality. And he again tries to link with the type of psychic energy which is located in different parts of the body from birth to it. As he said that first stage, according to Freud, is oral stage. And here the libido or the psychic energy is located in the lips area. And here you get gratification by trying to manipulate the oral region. So what do you do as a oral region in oral stage? You try to suck the milk from mother's breast or a feeding bottle or whatever it is. So you get gratification by manipulating the oral region. And this is by birth to 1 year. So during this period, we try to get where we can try today. And here, if you are gratified, you go successfully to the next stage. If you are not gratified, you try to have the oral fixation. For example, if a child is nourished well by the mother, the child successfully passes from the oral stage to the next stage. Otherwise, he will be fixation at oral stage. And the consequence in how it reflects in the later personality of an individual is the smoking behavior, chewing betel nut, sarcastic comments on others are all a result of oral fixation. And a person, because he want to have insufficient manipulation of his lips, it want to try to smoke. It want to chew. It could not chew, gets up food. So what happens is it tries to chew the betel nuts. If there are things, the aggressive oral personality is a person who tries to pass sarcastic comments on others. This is because of the oral fixation. How the fixation influences a personality. This is how I try to give an example. So the first few years will be very decisive for the formation of personality. And here I tell you, which lasts about a year. Here it is oral fixation. Once you eat something, it is digested. And undigested and unwanted thing has to be defecated. And the next stage after 1 year is anal stage. Anal stage is now the libido, the psychic energy is located in the anal region. So you try to defecate in anal region. And here, basically, this is done through your toilet training. As a child, you defecate whenever you want it. But society imposes you to find a proper place and proper manner to defecate. And here comes that you need to defecate or not. So there are two types of personalities: anal expulsive personality, anal impulsive personality. Anal expulsive personality are the people who tries to defecate and gain pleasure by defecation. Anal impulsive personality are the people who withhold the feces because of strict toilet training and other things. And here, these are the people, if you tell them something, they will not tell anybody because they are anal retentive personalities. Anal expensive personalities are the people who can't hide anything in their mind. They just enjoy by telling to others, defecation. So these type of personalities do happen in the second stage, the anal stage. Anal stage. So that is about the anal stage, which is called as during the second year, and which will be succeeded by phallic stage, in which the sex organ becomes the leading erogenous juice. So this phallic stage is a stage where people derive pleasure by manipulating genital regions. And this is the time where you develop a successful resolution is a very important for homosexual and heterosexual behavior. For example, in this stage, normally the male children are more attached to the mother and female children are more attached to the father. This is something you know it. Normally, girls like the father, boys like the mother. You know, this is because of a very important phenomena explained by Freud called as castration anxiety and penis envy. Castration anxiety is there in boys because he believes that his father may cut off his penis or castrate him because of late the mother was taking more responding to the needs of the boy rather than the husband. So father notices his wife is no more interested in him and she is spending her more time with the boy. So she is having an alternative and trying to play with his penis and other thing. So he feels that if a boy feels that he may castrate me. This is in the male, it has to be resolved. In the female, you have penis envy. The girl, as she's growing, she has been seeing the boys. They have seen her father. And father can pass a urine standing, but the girl has to sit and pass the urine. She feels, what is this discrimination? I think I also must be born properly. My mother might have removed my penis. So it is the mother which is against me. So I should be attracted more to father. My father is good. Mother has removed my penis at birth. She is envious of penny. And this has been very interestingly used by Greek stories. So there was a king called as Oedipus who killed his father without knowing that he's his father and marries his mother. Because the kingdom has the rule, whoever kills the king has to marry the boy. So this king and queen never had children for a long time. And once the queen gave birth to a boy, he called the priests and asked them to look about his future. And priests predicted that this boy is going to kill him. The father king asked the boy to be killed by his servants. And these servants, as usual, know they never killed him. They left him in the forest and brought the eyes of a deer and said that this is boy is killed. But this boy is brought up by some pedestrians who are walking through the things, and they were brought into the same city or the kingdom of the king, and everyone. And king was a tyrannic king, and he was punishing a lot of people. So this boy developed as a Robin Hood, like individual, and he killed his father. As the rule, he married his mother. That is how he uses this concept, the called as Oedipus complex. And the other complex is Electra complex, where the daughter kills the mother and marries the father. These are the two Greek stories which have been, Freud has been, because I didn't have time, I just skipping it. And that is about the next one is the phallic stage. And here, these are called as pregenital stages. These are pregenital stages. And once these are things, there is a child goes in a prolonged latency period. Till adolescence, he goes into a latency period. And here, these are the years of quiet years. Earlier, children were having friends. Then during the latency period, they'll be having friendship with both the genders and they never discriminated. But as they move from latency to the genital region, the final stage, the genital stage, they develop the heterosexual behavior. They develop the heterosexual behavior. And here, fixation in the pregenital area, phallic age, sometimes lead to homosexual behavior, where they identify with the more females, they develop female feminine characteristics, or if they identify with males, females are identified with males, they develop masculine characteristics. So likewise, these are the four stages, the important genital stage, and where we try to develop heterosexual behavior, which is normal behavior. But at every stage, you have a cataxis and anti-cataxis, and this has to be resolved. And once it is resolved, you move successfully to the next stage. And once you move at all stages successfully, resolving the cataxis of each stage, you will be developing into a normal human personality. This is about Freud's way of explaining the development of personality in different stages. And he says that childhood experiences are very crucial for personality. And if you want me to say, there is a famous saying in psychology which says that the father of a man is the child. That means the childhood experiences are very important for your later. This is briefly about things, and Freud, we can go at a long time. I think time may not permit. It is 15 minutes for. I think I'll stop here. Rest of the things, anything you have a doubt, you can ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk. Really, we enjoyed thoroughly, continuously. And In fact, we are following Bloom's taxonomy, like simple to complex and known to unknown. Like that, your talk and continuously we have been enjoying from known to unknown and simple to complex. Sir,
Sorry,
sir.
I had a call.
నో ప్రాబ్లం సార్ రియలీ ఒక మాటలు చెప్పాలంటే అరటిపండు ఒలిచిపెట్టి పెట్టినట్టు పెట్టారు సార్ వి ఎంజాయ్ థరోలీ అండ్ మోర్ ఓవర్ అవర్ బిఫోర్ interaction session, I have a doubt, sir.
చెప్పండి.
Stress is a big problem these days. Everybody is facing some stress problems related to our profession, like from childhood days to children, from elder people, and all professions like software and hardware, and now even teaching professors also facing this stress problems. Can you find any solution of stress in this Freud psychoanalytical theory? Can you link
Freud
anywhere?
talks about, sorry, Freud doesn't talk about stress busters. He tries to talk about defense mechanisms, and defense mechanisms are used by us as a stress busters because I don't know how many of you have. We had a lot of movies which type of. Today you have Bahubali, we have other things. So here the hero uses a sword and what do you call it as a shield. You have a shield with the hero's hand, and you also have a knife. So here, Freud more emphasizes on shield type of overcoming the stress. So when he uses the defense mechanisms, we use defense mechanisms. For example, have you heard about a story called as a jackal and grapefruits? So there is a jackal and it goes to a grape garden. Are you able to hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you able to? So the jackal goes to a grape garden, and because jackal is too short and the grapes are on the at a higher plane, so it cannot reach them. So it tries to jump, 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 and it doesn't eat, and it will be going away. A fellow like me just crosses the jackal and asks him, "What happened, Mr. Jackal? How are the grapes? Have you eaten them?" He says, "No, I have not eaten because." Grapes are sour fruits. They are sour fruits. This is rationalization. So, అందరిని ద్రాక్ష పండ్లు పుల్లనా అన్నారు తెలుగులో. I don't know how many people will like Telugu speaking here. అందరిని ద్రాక్ష పండ్లు పుల్లనా అందితే తీయన. And here, when we don't reach the goal, we try to rationalize it in our behavior. So it is something. So this is the mechanism. For example, అత్తమింద కోపం దుత్తమింద చూపించారు. So stress is because of the mother-in-law. But I can't show my anger on my mother-in-law. So I try to break up the tutta, that is the vessel. So this is displacement. So you have a sublimation, substitution. Substitution is where you can overcome a strength with a different type of activity. For example, there may be a otherwise able individual or what we call a Divyanga Angulu these days, because the nomenclature which we use again did not raise a controversy. And they can't do it. For example, I don't have hands. I can use my legs to paint. This is substitution. I lost reaction formation. ఆడవారి మాటలకు అర్థాలు వేర్లేని మనకు పాట ఉంది. So I love, Savitri loves Ranti Ramarao, but she expresses in a different way. This is reaction formation. So stress as a concept, in Freud's way of thinking, it has been more evasive. It was a denial. Denial is the way where Freud tries to say that you try to come because you repress the traumatic experiences. So you had an accident, and you get up and you lost your everybody, but you say that they are somewhere. You say you have forgotten. But according to Freud, he says you have not forgotten, you have repressed that idea. This is what Freud says.
Thank you,
So
sir.
coping strategies are something which we have been following, which is called as what you call what do you call it? A SWOT-like thing where we try to develop strategies to overcome our difficulties. This is coping strategies.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now open for the discussion. Participants and my dear friends, anybody, if you have any doubts, you can clarify with sir.
Yeah, no.
If anybody wants to ask any kind of questions, you can ask directly. You can clarify us.
So somebody is sent a message asking me, in our society we have people with crime. So crime is a antisocial behavior, which is a form of aggressive attitude expressed because of not accepting the societal way. So here crime is not being socialized, not accepting the society norms. So socialization is trying to regulate human behavior, which is acceptable behavior. And here, a person's sociopathic behavior or antisocial behavior is where you are not forming proper socialization. Okay?
Yeah, Sunil Babu, something.
Yes, sir. Hi, sir. This is Sunil, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for the session. It's a wonderful session. Can you share any resource, anything to explore more on this topic that you explained today? Like any resource? I was searching in internet. But
I'm a conservative.
I was a software engineer, so basically I search.
I'm a conservative old-time
Okay.
psychologist. So I just read textbooks. I don't go through internet because they are very brief. And if you want my way of looking and my explanation, you can find it in one book called Thesis of Personality by Hall and Lindsay. And if you want,
can you repeat, sir?
Hall, 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 Lindsay,
Okay.
Lindsay.
In our OU, in our BROU books, also mentioned this.
They are there. If you have taken the personality course material from Ambedkar Open University, I think at the end of each lesson, I think I have seen through that what are the books which have been followed. You can't get one theory in one book, because I have, after reading, been there in psychology, reading different books. Sometimes I take different things from different books. But for me, for theories of personality, whatever I talk today, because after my retirement, I have very few books with me. Earlier, I used to have. And it is Theories of Personality of Hall and Lee, the old edition, but not the present edition. Present edition, I think you have better things. You have a different way of presentation. For theories, Hall and Lindsay must be good. But there are brief theories, hundreds of books are there today. And if you want to have a different perspective of the total theories, you have one book called as Interpreting Personality Theories by Bischoff. And this must also be very good, but that would be not to a student of distance education, but a teacher of psychology can enjoy it, because he will have a lot of oral diarrhea. Teachers will normally have oral diarrhea, and we need to talk. So we need to read a lot of books and try to tell many things to you, because you are silently hearing us. Okay, that is about. That is one thing. Recently, I think I have seen a book written by Morris. This is also by personality. Theories of Personality by Morris is another book. There are.
Anyhow, we are giving all the references in our course materials, sir. The students can get all the books and information.
I have edited. I think I have seen.
Yeah, you are the editor of that course also.
All these books are there.
Now,
Depending upon the theory, books might have changed also.
yes, sir.
But
Yes.
Hall and Lindsay and Bishop must be there for all the theories.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Dr. Sriveni Garu to give formal vote of thanks session.
Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I wanted to express my sincere gratitude for organizing the insightful webinar on psychoanalytical theory. The session provided valuable perspectives. Professor Shrikant Reddy sir has explained about the theory according to the Sigmund Freud. And just I want to say the summary of the webinar. In the beginning, the psychology is explained like a systematic study of soul, and then it is called it as a study of mind, and then it is called it as a conscious behavior, which is a combination of mental chemistry. And the sir has explained conscious, unconscious, subconscious, past, present, and future, and the underworld, which is inside the humans, and the psychic behavior and how it influences the behavior of the humans, and personality, structure of personality. And sir has explained in a beautiful way with the examples related to the id, ego, and superego. And he explained about instincts, goal fulfillment, aggression, life and death instincts, libido, slip of tongue phenomena, defense mechanisms, and personality development throughout the life, and childhood experience in human beings. Your expertise and engaging delivery made the complex concepts accessible and engaging, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and facilitating this thought-provoking discussion. And I appreciate the effort that went into the making this webinar informative and interactive, sir. And my sincere thanks to my Dean.
Thank you.
Faculty of Social Sciences, and my colleagues and my dear students, and computer section also for supporting the webinar in a successful way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, sir.
I think we could have spent a little more time because this theory is so complex, so engrossing. It takes a lot of time. How far I was able to put forward, but I was brief at many places.
Yes,
but
sir.
Still, that doesn't permit to go into.
We request you to give more webinars like this, sir. In other topics also, please. We are organizing many webinars in different kinds of topics, sir. Different topics on psychology and UG level and PG level and other general topics also. We are planning to conduct webinars and other programs, sir. Please kindly give your support and cooperation.
But I can support only in the areas where I can really speak.
Okay.
Not
Okay,
on the areas which you want me to speak.
No problem.
I can't go beyond certain things.
Okay,
though I may be a teacher of psychology, I can teach certain things. Especially anything related to personality and related to basics of psychology, or something related to, as your stress and coping and other things, I can tell you. But the other things also I can speak, but I may not be able to tell you as fluently as I speak here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All the best. Thank you for giving an opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
After a long time, I had a chance to talk about the subject. Okay.
Sir.
Okay, sir.